Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting for Tuesday, March 14th, 2017. First order of business is roll call and determination of quorum. Brenda, when you are ready.
Doyle.
Here.
Drew. Here. Solomon. Here. Nordstrom. Estes. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Brenda. Next order of business is to adopt the agenda. Do I have any changes? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Solomon, second by Drew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Agenda is adopted. Thank you. Now is the time for general public comment, which is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action, however, will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on this agenda except by placement thereon by unanimous vote of the aldermen present. I have no general public comment forms, so we'll move on to consent items 1 through 18. Seeing no public speaker comment forms, I will open and close public comment, and we'll move to the consent calendar items 1 through 18. Would any committee person like to remove one for separate consideration? Alderwoman Drew.
This on 3 and 7, thank you.
3 and 7. Any others? If not, I would entertain a motion to adopt the balance.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Solomon, second by Nordstrom to adopt consent calendar items 1 through 18 with the exception of items 3 and 7. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Consent calendar is adopted with the exceptions of number 3 and 7. We are now on to item number 3. Change order number 1F to Heavy Instructors, Inc., DBA Gustafson Builders for RC Public Library main floor, and it's project number 162355 for an increase of $3,758.60. Alderwoman Drew, you have the floor.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Drew, second by Solomon to approve. Darla, you have the floor.
Thank you. It's more of a public service announcement than anything. I was just down at the library yesterday and saw the renovations there. And I would encourage anybody in the community that wants to go and see what we've done with this facility, changing out carpet and paint. And I say us because I'm a member of their board. And also they've changed it to a bookstore model. So we're not using the Dewey Decimal System anymore. You can just go through and see if you want home repair or if you want psychology or whatever it is. The aisles are labeled as such, and it's made it very, really increase the ease of use at the library. And it's so open and spacious. It really looks great. So please take advantage of our local library and the way they've remodeled it. It's just beautiful, and you'd be very proud to see what has been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Darla. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item 3 carries. Item number 7 is 2017 street patching project in an estimated cost of $150,000. Alderwoman Drew, you do have the floor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Drew, second by Solomon.
I have a couple of questions for Dale Tech, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Dale, I was looking at this today, and it didn't really seem to have any street in particular in mind. What is going on with this $150,000 for the patching project?
Yes, that's a very good question. The number of street rehabilitation projects that we do throughout the year, a number of them are chip sealing projects. And typically we include the asphalt patching in with the chip sealing projects. We believe we'll get a better price for both the patching and the chip sealing if we do them separately, because a lot of contractors aren't set up to do both. So this year we're trying something a little different. We believe it'll extend our tax dollars a little further. There aren't any streets listed on this. However, when the rehab projects come forward, the chip sealing, those will all come to the city council showing which streets are going to be chip sealed. So you'll be seeing that at a little later date. We've obviously have to get this contract done first before we can move forward with the other ones.
So if citizens have questions about if their roads are on this part of this project, do they call the street department? They call the city?
They can call city engineering. Our street engineers have a list of streets they'll be doing rehab. Obviously, that list is funding dependent.
Oh, sure.
So we certainly have an idea of which streets we plan to do, but by the time we get to the end of the year, we may not be able to do all of them depending upon how bids come in and how our funding level is set. So,
well, I'm sure that people will be glad to be on that list and know this is being done and also saving the taxpayers some money. Thank you, Dale.
welcome.
Thank you, Darla. Any further discussion? Seeing none, there is a motion to approve on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item 7 carries. We're now at the end of our consent calendar. On to non-consent items 19 through 22. I'll now open public comment. I do have two speaker requests on item number 22, and we will go to, anyone want to go first? Okay. Kyle's getting pointed at. So Kyle Trelaw on item number 22.
Kyle Trelaw with KTM Design Solutions. I wanted to just give a little background information to the Public Works Committee on the request to appeal the denial of section line improvements. So a little background on the project. This is accompanying the watershed, the High Point Ranch Ridge subdivision, which is about a 45-acre residential subdivision located in the southwest side of Rapid City in the area generally known as the Red Rocks Estates development. We have already submitted and run through the Planning Commission and the City Council a preliminary subdivision plan, kind of laying out what the plans were for this. And then here recently, at the beginning of this month, the grading permit was approved, and work has started on moving the dirt here today. This is the site plan that was provided with the subdivision plan. This has remained essentially unchanged from where we're at today. Our request is for the Public Works Committee and the City Council to appeal the requirements to install the section line highway. As we know, the section line system works great in the Plains area. When you run into the hillier terrain of the Black Hills or anywhere, it doesn't work as well. You have to deal with sloping terrain. As you get into the Plains where you can have those nice streets, it works very well. This is one of those cases where the topography is limiting, and not only is the topography limiting, but we also have issues with the utilities if we try to build within the section line right away. This here is a diagram of the property. My screen's not on here, so usually I would do it, but you can see the section line in question is the north-south section line, and it's extending straight north out of Dunsmore Road. The section line to the south is and has already been vacated with this project. What's important to notice on this is that we have there we go, thank you. We have a fairly significant drainage that runs through here. And second, these are 5-foot contours. As we progress to the north, we really start to fall off a cliff. And then even as you take this further to the north, it turns into really steep terrain. Oops. This is a profile of the section line road and how it would lay out. As you can see, this is north in this direction. As you come off, you immediately drop 45 feet. That in conjunction with the sewer only being 10 foot deep here makes providing any kind of sewer utilities feasible. But then as you continue forward, you have an even more significant drop in elevation. This is the plan that was submitted. As you can see, we're providing alternate access that more matches the natural contours of this area. Secondarily, we're providing a secondary access to help serve this property into the future. Currently, the section line, if built, you wouldn't be able to access this very well, and you wouldn't be able to pull sewer utilities. So by providing this where we did, it allows for further development and access to this property. Here's just another demonstration of the sewer. Basically, at the intersection of Dunsmore Road, we have an approximately 10-foot manhole. That's what we're working with. That's what's driving our grades. Here you can see how the sewer and the utilities curve around that drainage. A couple of other points. We are providing an internal access road network. Included with that is a collector grade street. We're providing 2 accesses, and we aren't asking for any kind of exceptions within the subdivision itself. Here's a grading plan that just kind of demonstrates the grades. Here's a copy of the major street plan. You can see as part of the major street plan, a collector level street was planned to come through the property. And submitted with our preliminary subdivision plan We had a master plan where we identified that collector street, and we showed how that could follow natural grades to access the properties to the north. We also provided that secondary access to make sure we were accessing that property to the east. And then kind of the last point is if we extend this section line road straight to the north, we do and we will have unintentionally force additional traffic down Dunsmore Road. Dunsmore Road is not meant as a through street, it's a residential level street. So by going with the plan as submitted and approved through the subdivision plan, we're actually intending to push more traffic down Poppy Trail and through the intended road network. If there's any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them as it necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Now go to Andy Scull. Or Andrew, excuse me.
Andrew or Andy Scull, 2665 Gavin Road. I represent Watershed LLC as the managing partner, and I'm here for any potential questions that you have as the developer.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now close public comment. Go on to item number 19, which is to approve award of total bid for the water reclamation facility potable water improvements project. The bids were opened on February 28th, 2017 to the lowest responsible bidder, RCS Construction, the amount of $585,048.60. I have a motion to approve by Nordstrom
Second.
and a second by Drew. We'll go to Alderman Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could ask a question of our Assistant City Attorney,
Please
Wade
do.
Nyberg. Hi, Wade.
Hi.
So I saw in your memo about this process that RCS had a bid in there, but they're wanting to pull it or not pull it because of an error that was made. Can you clarify that for all of us up here?
Sure. There were two bids submitted on this project. One was RCS, one was Mainline. RCS, after the bid opening, RCS notified the project manager that they had made an error in one of the bid items. There was I don't know how many, I guess there were 60 or so different bid items, so each is a line item they bid. Some have unit prices, some have lump sums. One of the bid item where they had made a mistake, the engineer's estimate was $67,000 some odd dollars. They had bid $6,600 instead of their error, I think, was that they meant to bid $66,000 instead of $6,600. They're unable to withdraw their bid after the bids have been opened. Up until the bid opening, they can modify or withdraw, but after the bids are open, they're basically a binding offer. Public Works staff met with Bob Scull and had a couple phone conversations. Basically, they would like out of that obligation that they don't want to do the project for what they feel is less than what they had meant to bid. So I tried to lay out the options in that memo. You can award it, and then it sort of puts the ball back in their court. They can sign a contract and do it for that amount. They're not entitled to a change order based on a bidding mistake. They could still have change orders based on unforeseen work, changes in work, that sort of thing, but they're not entitled to one for the bid mistake. If they refuse to sign a contract, then it would be they submitted a bid bond, which would be 10% of the bid. In this case, about $58,000 some odd dollars, and that would be something that the city would pursue if they didn't sign the contract. The other option available to the council is to reject bids. Generally, we should have a reason for that. Both bids, I guess, were over the estimate. This one was close, maybe 5% or so over the estimate, but if you did do that, we'd want you to allow them to rebid. Public Works isn't, if we did rebid it, we doubt we would see as favorable of a price as this, so
Okay.
that's why.
So just to be clear, the engineer's estimate was around $550,000. The RCS bid came in at $585 and change. The second bid was $736,000.
Correct.
You don't believe that one contractor saw the bid of another and decided they wanted to change things? You think it was actually a genuine error?
Yeah, I don't have any reason to believe that's not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll yield the floor. Thank you, Wade.
I do have a motion and a second to approve the award and go ahead award this to RCS. Any further discussion? No? I might. What was that?
Chair's prerogative.
Yeah, no. Wade, if I may. I hate to be the party pooper, I really do. Have we had a history of this at all? Have we ever had to call in a bid bond, or like within the last 10 years, or how long you've been here?
I've been here 8 years. I can't think of a bid. In fact, I went and got a copy of this from finance, and I'm not sure I've even looked at a bid bond in the 8 years I've been here, so.
Okay. And my question would be, mistakes happen. I hate to penalize that. The law is the law, and we do have things in place to protect the taxpayers, obviously, and protect the integrity of the process. With regard to precedent, if we were to wipe the slate clean and rebid this project, can you speak at all to what type of precedent this may set in the future? That would be my concern.
Well, I think I would say if you do reject the bids in this one, I think it's better to do it on the individual circumstances of this as opposed to the danger, I guess, is that someone claims mistake and we reject the bids and we rebid it. We're probably going to end up paying more. The danger, I think, is in the future that a contractor could see that their bid was, substantially lower than the next two bids and say, "Oh, wait a second, I made a mistake." It's maybe Dale can speak to it too, but it's just to guard the process against that type of contractor that would do something like that. That if they purposely underbid it and then they see that they've left a lot of money on the table, they could claim a mistake and point to this as, well, you let somebody else off when they said they had a mistake.
Right, and I don't believe that is going on here. Could RCS rebid, or would they be ineligible to rebid if we were to?
No, they would be able to rebid.
Okay. And either, if you can, please do. If not, I'll go to Dale. But do we know why the engineer's estimate, why there was such a deviation from how the bids came in, had they been accurate versus what the engineer's estimate was?
I defer to Dale on that, I think.
Dale?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Wade, along with his letter that he sent out, also sent out a bid tabulation, and it shows what the engineer's estimate was for each bid item as well as what the both bidders. This is an unusual project. It's not something like building a road that we do 100 of them a year. This is something that we do one of them historically. So when an engineer that we hire is estimating costs, there's not a lot of information to go on. They're making a best estimate that they can. And if you had a chance to review the bid items, some of them vary wildly based on what our engineer thought the bid price should be versus what the contractors actually submitted a bid price on. So you know, the estimate is just that, it's an estimate. You know, the budget for the project was about $600,000, I think. The engineer's estimate was $550. The low bid that's in front of us today is $585. So to me, that's not bad. In fact, if you look at historically all of our engineers' estimate versus bid pricing, they're going to vary plus or minus 10, 15%, plus and minus. So there's a lot of times they come in well under, and there's a lot of times they come in well over. That's just the nature of the business. To say that the engineer's estimate is wrong, I mean, that's difficult to place blame on the engineer. They're going on the best information they have available, and that's usually the last dozen projects that were bid. And as I said, this is an unusual project. It's not like we do these types of projects all the time. So the point I'm trying to make is there is a lot of variability in bid items, and if you look through even this bid tab, you know, could they say that they made a mistake? Absolutely, they could say that. But also looking at these bid items, they're all over the place. So it would be a precedent that I don't think the city council should get into personally. I think that once you open a sealed bid, that's the price that person is guaranteeing.
Okay. Thank you. And if we will go to the city attorney in just a moment. I think if I do see this looking unanimous, I'll probably vote against it just to make sure that it's discussed Monday night. Joel?
I would just point out the law provides for a remedy for this situation. They contemplate that there will be mistakes made. They require a contractor to provide a bid bond, and they do that for a reason. They know that once the bids are opened, if there's a mistake or somebody is allowed to withdraw their bid, that the bidding environment the second time the project's bid out is going to be a lot different. Everybody's cards have kind of been exposed already. So there is a harm to the taxpayers if you forgive the mistake and allow the contractors all to rebid. The contractor ultimately will have to make a decision on how to handle it. If they don't want to re-enter into the contract at the amount they bid, then there's the bid bond in place, which the law allows. So you're really circumventing the process in place that the law allows if you just reject all bids. I just would point out, again, if the shoe was on the other foot and the city had made a mistake and it was going to cost the contractor a lot of money, would they let us off the hook in that situation? My guess is no. They wouldn't. They would expect that they be compensated in some way for that. So just something for you to consider as you decide how to move forward on this.
Fair enough. Thank you, Wade. Thank you, Joel. Dale? I am relinquishing the floor. Is there any further discussion on this? The motion on the floor is to approve the award of this amount to RCS Construction. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll say no, make sure that it's on non-consent. Thank you, everybody. Item number 20 is the sidewalk discussion. Once again, continued from the February 14th, I'm trying not to be snarky, Public Works Committee meeting. I don't know what we're going to talk about, to be honest, at this point. Richie, yay, okay. Mr. Nordstrom.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I think I've got my mind pretty much made up, but I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands what we're trying to do, or at least what I think we should be attempting to do, is putting together a pilot project somewhere, someplace, and only because of the number of properties that are involved. I was looking at Deadwood Avenue. It doesn't mean we have to start up with Deadwood Avenue, but I think we should at least approach the process of going forward with some type of pilot project. Where that area begins at, I don't care. It's just that we need to move forward on this. And I've been getting a lot of suggestions or urging from the citizens out there about these different areas that we call, I call them people trails, and they're called demand trails. There's a lot of paths out there that need to be addressed throughout the entire city. So that's my suggestion, is that we move forward with at least a pilot program.
Okay. Okay, well, in light of the fact that you've already spoken, I still will ask you, do you have a motion you would like entertained today to actually send something solid up to council Monday?
That's my encouragement, is to do just that. And you're correct, I can't make a motion, but that would be the suggestion, that we move forward with a pilot program.
Well, maybe we can get someone else in here and you can come back in, or someone else may have a different idea. Alderman Solomon.
So I will make a motion to send this to council without recommendation, just because of the sheer debate that we need to have on it. And for us to, the four of us, to have that debate without all of them, I'm not sure will be fruitful in this particular situation. So that would be the motion that I make.
Do you have a second? I have a motion to send to council without recommendation, which is almost, okay, it's alive. We did get a second by Drew. You still have the floor. Okay, Alderwoman Drew.
I don't ever like sending things to council without, a recommendation from this group, because we're a deliberative body. However, this is such a complex and expensive venture that we are looking at, and we've put it off, I think, as long as we can. I think we really have to move forward on a decision with this. However, I can support saying that it can go to council without recommendation, because it probably will be a long discussion. And I think I'd like to see this council make a decision on it before there's changes in June. So that's my thoughts on this.
I guess the question I would have is, what is likely to gain more traction? Once again, having something without recommendation and no solid something on the table, or something on the table, maybe it gets shot down, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but that would be my 2 cents. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the committee has a motion on the floor to move this to council without recommendation. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Yeah, wasn't very enthusiastic, but Brenda, this one will go to council without recommendation. Item number 21 is a request from Bryce Camblis and Ray and Shirley DeGeest for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk per city ordinance 12.08.060 along Vista Hills Drive, adjacent to 4760 Vista Hills Drive. Alderman Nordstrom.
Madam Chair, if I may ask Dale Tech a question on.
Certainly.
Dale, do you know what the grade is on this street that we're looking at?
I do not. The grade of the street isn't excessive. We certainly have sidewalks in town that would be steeper than this. The cross slope of the road is probably going to be problematic due to the rural nature of the road. There may be some grading that would be required to install the sidewalk.
Madam Chair, I was just looking at the maps on this, and I wasn't seeing any demand trails up in this area. And with, 8, if I remember reading the narrative correctly, it was something like 8 properties up there. And if the property owners want to walk down the street in this case, I'm uncomfortable saying that in one respect, but at the same time, there isn't that much traffic up in there, that area. So as much as I want to see sidewalks put in, I can understand the appeal request on this one. And I'm not ready to make a motion yet, but I think this answers some of my questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nordstrom.
If I may, I'm Ray DeGeest. I'm the.
Just one moment, sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Anybody else have questions? Would anyone like to direct, or may I have the latitude to? Yeah. Okay. Okay. We didn't have a speaker request form for you. So you said you're Ray DeGeest?
I am.
Okay. And do you have a couple of comments you'd like for us to entertain, sir?
Well, yes, and I think Mr. Nordstrom addressed them mostly because there is no foot traffic along this street. It's a dead-end street. It ends in a cul-de-sac. And I bought this place in last fall. Yeah. And what triggered this move was that my home didn't have a garage, so we went to build a garage, and that, of course, triggered the sidewalk issue. And I would ask that some member of the committee that has, if you haven't already looked at this place, when they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, I could not take a picture that gave it an accurate representation of what it looks like. But I would invite you to go take a look at it, one of you at least, to see the effect of what effect a sidewalk would have on those of us, especially me. I think I have 600 foot of frontage and I certainly didn't expect this going to be an issue last fall when I bought the place. So from a personal point of view, of course it's a financial issue. This is a place my wife and I bought to live out our remaining years, and however few that may be. So our desire is that you take a look at it before you make the decision, because I think Mr. Nordstrom's position is accurate. It is unique, and it's not like you look at Deadwood Avenue where there are footpaths and normal routes that people take to get from one location to another to come through that a sidewalk would serve a purpose. That is not created here. I've lived there since the beginning of October, and I haven't seen anybody walk on that street since then. We all drive to get to Sheridan Lake Road, and there's just no foot traffic. So I would just throw that out.
Thank you, Mr. DeGeest. If you could, there are some speaker request forms on that back table. If you wouldn't mind just filling it out with your name and address so I can get it in for the record, that would be wonderful. And then just stay tuned. We may have some committee members that have questions for you.
I'm sorry, you would like me to fill that out?
If you would,
I'd
and
be
then
glad
just
to.
set it on the counter over here.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I did have first, I'm going to make a motion to grant the variance to waive the requirement to install a sidewalk. And this, if I can get a second and hold the
I have
floor.
a motion by Solomon, second by Nordstrom, to grant this request to waive the requirement. Mr.
And
Solomon, you have
a lot of these I try to drive and see what it looks like on paper versus real life. So I did have a chance to drive over there, and while I generally agree we want sidewalks throughout the community, I think these are the kinds of situations where exceptions can be made and should be made, and let common sense prevail. So with that, I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
Alderman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I can ask a question of Mr. Tech, please.
Yep. Please.
Dale, you said something there, and I didn't process it very well, but there was some issue that was problematic, and I heard it, but I didn't pay attention to what you were saying.
Well, this isn't a standard road section. It's a partial urban and partial rural road section. I believe the side that Mr. DeGeest lives on is a rural section. So the standard location for sidewalk isn't always real friendly to try to construct it. So there's always roadside grading that needs to be done to put the sidewalk in. So, that is problematic. The actual grade of the road itself is not problematic, but what lies along the edge of the road is in this instance.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that's my rationale for upholding the appeal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, motion on the floor is to grant this request. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, so what this means, where do you go? Oh, what this means is that this committee is recommending to grant your request to the full council, but the full council, we're just a recommending body. Full council will make the ultimate decision on Monday night. Okay, you're welcome, sir. Just set it on the counter over here, and we'll take care of the rest. Thank you. Item number 22, appeal of denial of exception of request from KTM Design Solutions on behalf of Watershed Development LLC to waive pavement, curb, gutter, sidewalk, street light, conduit, water, and sewer in the section line right-of-way, generally located at the intersection of Poppy Trail and Dunsmore Road. And we do have the engineer and the developer here to answer questions. Alderman Nordstrom, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm just trying to pull up the options that we have in front of us. If I may make the motion to approve the appeal, but require the developer to construct a street connection to the property to the east within the last developable phase of the project. And that's my motion.
Second.
Option 3.
Option 3?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, do you have a motion and second for option number 3? Any further discussion, or would you like to maintain the floor, Mr. Nordstrom?
I think these folks have come up with a great alternative and put a lot of work into not only just talking to the neighbors, but the design of it. So I feel that they've put forward a very good alternative. So that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Solomon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could ask a question of Dale Tech, please.
Please.
I agree. It's going to be a great development. Looks really good. Dale, Kyle has a good point on Dunsmore. What it's on paper supposed to be, which is a local road, from what I understand. And Poppy Trail in the master plan would be a connector street. However, right now Poppy doesn't go anywhere, and if it was to connect anything, it'd be somewhere around Wildwood. So realistically, everybody who moves into that development is going to use Dunsmore. It's just going to happen for the foreseeable future. And yet, is that road not, I mean, was that not the intention of Dunsmore versus, when I look at the master street plan, is that what the intention of Dunsmore was? Can you kind of clarify that for me?
I believe I'm just going off recollection here. I don't believe that Dunsmore was shown as a collector road. However, the road to the east was. So the road leading out of this development will actually be going towards the east, and then people should turn south along what was designated as the collector road, and then eventually back to Dunsmore and Sheridan Lake Road. Will people use Dunsmore Road? Probably. There's really no way to stop that. They're all public streets. I believe what the applicant developer has done has accommodated what was originally planned for that overall area. So I believe what they're showing is in compliance with the major street plan and what was originally identified for that entire area.
Okay, so for full disclosure, I live on Poppy Court, which is off of Poppy Trail. No one is ever going to take Poppy Trail unless it goes somewhere. It just is the backside of a development that just wraps around. 100% of the people will take Dunsmore. I mean, until there's a way out. I have heard, and maybe you can clarify this, that once upon a time we wanted to have Poppy Trail connect out towards perhaps Wildwood, out to Sheridan Lake Road, but there may have been a lawsuit or something involved in that. Maybe the city attorney's not here anymore, but can you clarify what we know about the original design of that and where that's
I
at
don't
right now?
believe it was ever designed to go out to the east, out to Wildwood. There were some lawsuits. That was before my time with the city, so I'm probably the last person that can really give you any useful information on that. I don't anticipate that road ever going to the east.
Okay. All right, I'll yield for now. Thank
Okay.
you.
Alderwoman Drew?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure who to direct this question to. I guess it'll go to Dale. But if we approve this deal, so to speak, holding them responsible for constructing a street connection, where does that put us for ordering in sidewalks in the future? I mean, it seems like we're saying you don't have to do this. Instead, you have to do a street.
The street alignment that they're showing shows developable lots along that entire stretch. When they come in for a building permit, those people will be required to install sidewalks. So I don't believe this action has any effect at all on any future sidewalk connections. I believe what they're showing for their plan, their master plan, sidewalks will be installed as people pull building permits.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Nordstrom?
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. If I can put a little bit of ease at mind here for the folks on this committee is that there are other areas in town that are comparable to this. I'm going to pick on my own ward, for example, because we've got something comparable to this out on the Geest, Homestead, and Missoula streets. Right now, people are using the northern end of the Geest Street, and as soon as Homestead gets completed, cross your fingers that it will be actually done. A lot of that traffic that's going down the northern edge of, or northern end of the Geest Street, that will be alleviated by what is going to be resolved with the installation of Homestead Street. So there's other areas in town that are doing comparable work.
Thank you. Alderman Solomon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could ask a question to Kyle from KTM while he's here. Hey, Kyle. So a lot of this really hinges on whether that road on the section line is built in and then everything that accompanies it. Is that pretty much the heart of the issue for you?
Right. I think the section line, the way that we look at it isn't buildable today. That's why the master street plan has the collector going in a different direction. And that's the way that the development's been designed to not install that section line road in any fashion. So as you move to the north, the terrain just becomes so rough that you can't stay within that 66-foot right of way. And then if you look at other roads in the area, you'll see the same thing. You generally have to match into the existing topography a little closer as you wind through some of these hillier areas.
Okay. And right now you have it, and I love the flow. But you have it going out Poppy Trail, which is really not going to lead anybody out anywhere. Why not, even though the master street plan says one thing, why not look at what real life says and have it kind of flow out through Dunsmore?
Can we pull up the?
Master controls. Is Michael in there?
Michael, somebody's in the booth.
Yeah, in the booth. All right, it's coming up.
Let me see what I got here. Oh, they're moving stuff. All right. And, all right. Well, so I was hoping I had a little more of the major street plan, but what we're trying to do is follow this and really route traffic the way that it was intended to be. As you can see, we have this collector here is intended to go through in this direction. And like you said, it's got a future connection in that direction. But then ultimately, is this Cog Hill Lane over here? That street has been built, already constructed to the collector street standard. So that's where the traffic is intended to flow out of there.
So that'll help relieve some of the pressure that Dunsmore is going to face. And I know the residents are a little concerned about this development. And what I'm trying to get to is that you're trying to offer an alternate route built on the master street plan that kind of goes around Dunsmore, so not everybody has to take Dunsmore. Is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And as you can see right here, by just the natural flow, it's, obviously there are going to be folks that turn down Dunsmore. There's nothing you can do, like Dale said, it is public right away. But just by the geometry of what we're providing here, we're pushing traffic the direction it's supposed to go.
Well, good design creates good behavior.
That's the intent.
And I really do appreciate that. And the other aspect of this was there's a neighboring landowner that have you had any conversation with them about potential use of that area? That was part of what the memo from the city staff talked about. Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Thank you. Can I add one thing to the collector street system comment real quick? Specifically, the collector was shaped to tie into Poppy Trail and working with the city rather than having it tee. I suppose it could have done something like that and tee into Dunsmore. The city specifically wanted that type of connection because Poppy Trail is the collector. And as it comes down to Cog Hill wraps down and then hits Dunsmore when it's a collector down further to the south. And I believe that there's an intention, further down where it ties through undeveloped land back to Sheridan Lake Road, which creates an alternative collector. So it was really in coordination with the city. Specific to the landowner, they have no intentions within that I'm aware of in any near time to do any development. They're happy to have the land as it sits today. We have been in conversation with them on multiple times. We have shown them where we are, this connection location here, why that makes sense. We did have a conversation about vacating the section line, but we didn't find that to be favorable to anybody. So therefore, this is why we're asking for the exception to not develop it, because it's it doesn't make any real engineering sense to develop the section line that's undevelopable, provides no true benefit in terms of utilities and transportation long term, where we're accommodating that through this connection. This is virtually, I can't get this thing to work very good. That's virtually impassable from both the utility and for a road work area. So this really provides them the access necessary to this portion of their land, in our opinion.
Thank you, Andy. I'll yield the floor.
Thanks, everybody. Motion on the floor is to approve this appeal with exception or option number 3. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Solomon to adjourn. Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.